Welcome back. This is the Keypoints live on TV3, also live on 3FM 92.7, online at 3news.com, also Facebook at TV3 Ghana. So I'll quickly introduce the panelists for this part of the conversation this morning. From my extreme left, we have Mr. Edem Agbana. He is the Deputy National Youth Organizer of the National Democratic Congress, NDC. Next to him, we have Mame Awenado Kanyarige. She is a consultant with the Blackbridge Consulting Group. And last but not least, we have Mr. Richard Nyama, Deputy Director of Communications with the NPP. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. It's good to have you.
Good morning, Abba.
Great. So we will be moving on to look at the issue about the NDC March for Justice. But before that, we will like to touch on two issues that are also making the waves in the media space, talking about the recommendation that spouses of sitting presidents and vice presidents be given allowances. Indeed, this recommendation, this recommendation was made by the Intiamwa Beidu Presidential Emoluments Committee that sitting vice presidents and presidents should have their wives given allowances. Indeed, their allowances have been pegged at the level of cabinet ministers, and indeed it has caused a lot of debates. Several conversations have been had around it. We'll listen to Professor Bafo Ajimendia, former senior UN governance advisor, speaking to Jifa Bampo on this issue, and then we'll come to our panelists in studio for their reactions briefly on this matter, and then we'll move on to also look at the issue about the $28 million car loan being proposed for MPs, also another issue that has caused lots of controversy in the space here, and we will be touching on that briefly. But before that, let's listen to Professor Bafo Ajimendia as he takes his bite on the issue about allowances for spouses of sitting presidents and vice presidents.
No, since the beginning of the Republic, that all first ladies do expend on the public expenditure. We know that. So if we want to formalize, then we have to find a proper way, because the Constitution prescribes individuals, personnel of the government or the public service who must be salaried. I don't think that includes the first lady or second lady. But at the same time, I also recognize that these individuals do deserve some kind of allowances, and I believe they've been paid allowances all along. What I didn't know is that now they are going to be put on salaries, and salary implies that somebody is appointed to perform specific functions. As we sit here, I do not know the terms of reference for the appointments. If indeed they've been appointed, is it as first ladies or as what? So what is troubling for me is apparent lack of first transparency in how this whole process came about, and more importantly, how we are giving them salaries instead of, say, allowances, when in fact they are not covered by the constitutional requirements of Article 71.
What would then be an approach to either codify the receipt of salaries for the first and second lady?
You use the right term, codify them. If in fact we want to place them on salaries, then the procedure will be to have a bill debated at Parliament, and the proper constitutional measures taken, and formalize the salaries to be paid to them. But I still have a problem there, because you see, first ladies are not elected officials of the state. They are not appointed officials of the state. So I don't see under which framework we categorize them to give them salaries. In America, for instance, they do not give first ladies salaries. In fact, they give them allowances for good reasons, because first ladies keep offices. They have chief of staff, in terms of the American first lady, and a whole retinue of staff to service them. In the same way here, our first ladies, they play certain critical roles. They pick on certain social causes and work on them. Some provide hospitals, support for orphanages, and all kinds of things they do. So they do work. And that is why I'm saying they deserve some kind of compensation. Now, if you say salary, and you are putting them on the level of cabinet ministers, then in a way you are making them cabinet members.
Should we identify and determine what is the job description?
In the first place, it will be very difficult to find specific roles because not all first ladies may be interested in such roles. But I'm not sure whether we should define for them. If you do that, then it's as if you are appointing them to particular offices. But you see, being a spouse of a president doesn't necessarily make you an employee of government. That's why I think we have to be careful how we define their roles. That's why I believe that allowances so defined may be the best option, which means that if you're a first lady, there's certain basic allowance that you deserve because you may be performing certain functions in the household of the president.
Right, so that was Professor Bafo speaking there to Ajifa Bampo, expressing his views on the issue about paying first and second ladies' salaries pegged at the level of cabinet ministers. We'll be taking a brief look at that in studio. Let me start with you, Richard. Your thoughts on this? So apparently, you know, first ladies, second ladies are paid allowances, are given allowances, but now it looks like there's this, you know, attempt to formalize it, not just formalize the paying of allowances, but as Professor Bafo distinguishes, pay them now salaries. And that obviously has raised issues because, like he asked in there, what exactly are they doing in terms of, you know, their job descriptions and everything to warrant the payment of salaries? And obviously, this is a question that borders on how prudently we put the public purse to.
Good morning to you, my co-panelists and the viewers. It's unfortunate, the turn of events, and I think to some extent it is some grand design and agenda to misinform, miseducate, and generally pollute the minds of the general public on this particular matter.
What's the misinformation?
And the media is culpable in this particular instance. You seem to be treating us to a cocktail of misinformation and miseducation.
Is that not coming from the report of the committee?
And to a large extent, outright lies. This is a copy of it. That whole document is a 113-page document. At no point have I seen anywhere written that salaries are to be paid to first ladies and the second ladies. Nowhere is it written in that. Have you seen it, Abna?
You make your statement.
Fortunately, you have the relevant portion here. So let me just read it for the general public. And then somebody should tell me where their salaries are stated here. The administration of President Kufuor introduced the extension of courtesies, including the payment of monthly allowances to spouses of former heads of state, presidents, vice presidents. Subsequent administrations have continued the gesture and even extended them to incumbent first and second ladies. The gesture remains purely humanitarian to support and to, in some cases, rehabilitate former first ladies who were evidently struggling to subsist. However, there is no legal basis for this support. Thus, the committee recommends that the support extended to spouses of presidents, former presidents, vice presidents, former vice presidents, be regularized and included in the privileges of president, former president, vice president, former vice presidents. It's an extension of the office of the president and vice president.
Now, are you saying that when the
this is what is written? Then let me.
Are you saying that when the Minister for Information was reacting to this issue, when he said that it's not the president who approved it, but Parliament, he didn't know what he was talking about?
I'm saying that this is the committee's recommendation. This comes to Parliament. Parliament adopts it at the committee level, and then they recommend it, and the thing passes. Now, I am so bemused that Ghanaians will prefer that we do this behind the scenes. We should let what was going on be done. Everybody admits that this has been going on. It started in 1993. Former President Rawlings. And if you don't mind, let me read what Mr. Atudazi, his chief of staff, then chief of staff.
Richard, it's not in dispute that
it's not in
they were
dispute.
being given allowances.
Yes.
But to move them to the scale of cabinet ministers and to be saying that you're going to give them a salary is the issue that is up for conversation.
And that is where I have a problem with you. There is no salary stated here.
Are you saying that when the Minister for Information has had cause to respond to this, at no point did he indicate that the committee didn't make such a recommendation? I'm saying, are you saying that the Minister for Information did not know what
I'm talking to the source document, not
this
what
is just one part of it.
Yes.
This
and
is just one part of it.
have you read what the Parliament passed? At no point in the parliamentary listing does it say salaries. If you have anything to the contrary, tell me.
And I'm saying, paid the level of what cabinet ministers are taking, yes or no?
It was done under Nkrumah. It was pegged at the level of a deputy minister. So if they have elevated it to the level of a minister and you have a problem with that, that's what you should be looking at. My point is this. It has been done all these years, behind the scenes. Unfortunately, the immediate past former president made comments on this matter. And he indicates that the formalization of it has to find legal basis. And that, for me, is the point. Can he, for instance, point to Ghanaians? How much allowances were he paid to his wife as the first lady then? This seeks to regularize it, and then we all will know how much is going from that office to them. For accountability's sake.
Let me ask this
question. For probity's sake. We rather want to be in the darkness, and then if, let's say, a president or a vice president decides that he's paying 2 million to the wife through the office of the president, you and I have no idea how that is being done, how much it is.
Briefly before I move on to
this one seeks to bring clarity, and we have a problem with that. I'm shocked.
The question as to what exactly are we paying them for remains unanswered. What is it we're paying them for?
What were we paying them for?
I'm asking, what are we paying them for? The fact that it was done in the past does not necessarily mean
I'm
that
asking,
we should
what were we paying them for? The same document states that presidents and the vice president, presidents and vice president spouses in other jurisdictions are paid allowances and some benefits. Are we different from them? We are doing the same.
Of course, you can't compare your economy to other economies like that of the US and the UK.
Then
and those particular jurisdictions have different arrangements for their first ladies and second ladies.
We have the office of the first lady. We have the office of the second lady.
But those are not recognized by the Constitution, and that is the reason why there's this conversation.
Those are not recognized by the Constitution.
And they are coming under Article 71. They are not mentioned under Article 71.
It never stays under. You see, that's where I'm having the issue. The misinformation and miseducation. This whole thing I read, at no point in time did he say that it is coming under Article 71.
Okay, right then, let's do some education then.
Yes.
The committee was set up pursuant to Article 71 to determine emoluments for Article 71 office holders.
And have you read?
Have
you read the content, Richard, of the document?
To suggest that there's nothing about Article 71 in respect of this is highly inaccurate.
Listen, what I'm
but
saying
I need to move on.
No. Abna, you are putting me on the spot. Let me clarify that. I need to clarify that particular point.
Has been made.
It's not.
I mean, it's not in dispute. It's about Article 71. And that's it.
No.
Let me move on.
I'm saying that under Article 71, under the office of the president and the vice, these are part of the president and the vice's benefits.
Is that what you're saying?
And that is
allowances.
Yes, and that is what this document is saying. It's being extended to the spouses.
And is that proper? Is the question that we are asking?
Proper? If you don't want the office of the president and the vice, let's condemn it.
Let me hear you on this.
And then have an anarchic state.
This whole. Those are unfortunate statements.
Yes.
Richard, you should. Why should we have an anarchic?
So you think the president and the vice president, their wives, they have offices. They are running and receiving foreign dignitaries. They are doing work on behalf of the state. They shouldn't have anything. Who should sponsor that? If the state is not ready, I'm saying we should collapse those offices.
Very well. Let me have Adam's take on this issue as well.
Abena, good morning to you and good morning to my colleagues on the panel and to all our cherished viewers. I know we'll be talking about the demonstration, but this is my opening remark. So let me use your platform, the opportunity to thank each and every person who participated in the March for Justice, which was highly successful. I'm sure we'll go into the details later.
Yeah.
Abena, I am struggling, really struggling to understand where my brother Richard is coming from with his argument on this issue of the salaries that are expected to be paid to the presidential spouse. I am struggling because throughout the week, this matter has been in the media. We have spoken to it on various platforms. We have read the report, and even the information minister, who is the official spokesperson for the government, admitted that the committee, the Intiamwa Bedu committee, recommended the payment of salaries to presidential spouses. And he went further to blame Parliament and said Parliament had approved it, and that President Williams Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo had no option than to just accept recommendations of the committee. So for Richard to try and create an impression as though we just decided to smuggle this issue or topic for discussion without having basis for it is most unfortunate and smacks of dishonesty, because further calculations have even been made where we have been given the breakdown of the allowance and the salary, the basic salary that the first and second ladies are expected to receive if this process is carried through. So it is quite strange that Richard wants to make it appear as though we are bringing it up when there is no issue. Abena, I have read President or former President John Dramani Mahame's piece article on this particular issue, where he disagreed with the payment. But in his article, he also admitted that since the inception of the Fourth Republic, under the leadership of the late President J.J. Rawlings, we had an arrangement where some allowances were paid to first and second ladies. And that is because they keep offices. So we all know for a fact that we have office of the first lady, office of the second lady. They have staff members, people that work with them. We all know that they have engaged themselves in some social activities, though not constitutionally mandatory for them. They all pick up one or two issues or social causes that they embark on. So we all can recall that under the presidency of J.J. Rawlings, we all saw the role that Nana Konedu Ajiman Rawlings played. Very active role.
If you're admitting that, then why is the challenge with the arrangement being made formal?
I'm building a point.
Yeah.
If you would allow me land. So we saw the active role that Nana Konedu Ajiman Rawlings played. We saw the work that President Kufuor's wife, Madame Teresa Kufuor, we saw what Nadu Mills, we saw what Dr. Lordina Mahama and what Rebecca Akufo-Addo is doing today. And so we have seen these things and we know that they all play some role and they engage in some of these activities. But that arrangement, clearly, the payment of these allowances and support to their staff is from the monies allocated or funds allocated to the office of the president.
Yep.
So when you have Parliament approving an amount of money that the office of the president is expected to use within a year, and they decide that we are funding or part of these monies will be allocated to the office of first lady, second lady, and is done. These are purely informal arrangements that are made, and so that has been the system all this while. But when you are seeking to, what we are seeking to do with this particular recommendation from the committee, which President Akufo-Addo disappointingly has accepted, is that we are seeking to formalize and equate their offices to the office of cabinet ministers, because when you look at cabinet ministers, they fall under Article 71 office holders. Now, Article 71 of our Constitution clearly defines who qualifies to be Article 71 office holder. And Article 71 further goes to tell us how salaries or emoluments for Article 71 office holders should be determined.
Yep.
And so, if you have the committee set up as a result of that Article 71, making a recommendation and they are determining salaries to be paid formally to first and second ladies, what it means is that the committee has found a way of smuggling first and second ladies' position into the list of Article 71 office holders.
Let me just come in there. You know that matter is currently before the court.
Yeah.
Whether or not what the committee did was, in contravention of Article 71. And so in discussing it, let's be careful not to prejudice that. But of course, the propriety or otherwise of the arrangement can be discussed.
Yes.
So the constitutionality of it, which is before the court.
This is very fundamental.
Yes.
When you look at Article 71, it lists who Article 71 office holders are. President, Vice President, Cabinet Ministers, members of Parliament and all of that, clearly defined. So the point is that when you are even beginning on the point of constitutionality, clearly the committee did not have that power.
Don't go there yet. That's what I'm saying. It's before the court to make a determination.
No,
Now, if you're making this statement, you're being prejudicial.
We are not looking at whatever issues are in court.
No, but you see, the court is here to make a determination whether or
but
not it was
clearly,
constitutional. That's what I'm saying. Let's be guided. Let's be guided. That's what I'm saying. Yes.
Well, we are guided. But
Yes.
I am speaking to what I can read from the Constitution.
No, and I would respectfully
Now,
ask you to restrain from making prejudicial statements. You can go
Having
on and
said
talk
that-
about the propriety and all, but as whether it was constitutional, I beg. Yes.
Having said that, in addition to the issues around its legality and its constitutionality, the second point is about the reasonability.
You can do that, yeah.
What is the reasonability? I mean, what justifies an attempt to formalize payment of salaries to first and second ladies?
Adam, let me interrogate something further.
Yes.
Okay, you've made your submission that they're good. You talked about the fact that yes, previously, whatever allocations were given to such offices, first lady, second ladies offices,
Yes.
was from that which was allocated to the office of the president. Exactly. And it was up to the office to determine what goes where. Don't you think that arrangement would leave room for a whole lot of things to be done as to not knowing specifically how much is going where, as opposed to an arrangement that is formalized? And I'm not saying this salary thing, I'm endorsing it, but I'm just saying, if we admit that in the past, allowances have been given, and it's for a good reason, as you put it, talking about Nana Kunedu's, works and all up till this current First Lady, you're talking about that, yes, there was that allowances or that arrangement. At least we know that it was put to some use. Now, the idea is, let's formalize it. And this isn't an attempt to say what they're doing is correct, but I'm just saying, looking at what was done in the past and what is being proposed now, perhaps there is some need to have that conversation about formalization, perhaps not under Article 71 or by a committee set up under Article 71, but perhaps there's some need for some formalization of it to avoid arbitrariness in how funds are managed. Don't you think that perhaps should be discussed at a certain level?
No, I still think, and I strongly believe that we cannot even have a conversation about formalization because...
So it should be left as it is?
Because I'm going there. The reason is that when Mr. A and Mr. B presents themselves to be elected for political offices and to become Article 71 office holders, they do not run on the ticket with their spouses. When they are elected, it is their office that the Constitution recognizes, and it is their office that the Constitution makes allocations to. So it doesn't matter who the individual occupying the office is. It is the office that is recognized by the Constitution.
Which office? The First Lady's office?
No, I'm talking about the president's, the president vice. I mean, those who present themselves to be elected. Now, that office does not, and the Constitution does not, recognize officially the functions of the spouses. So, you can be a politician running a campaign, and I know many politicians whose spouses are clearly not interested in the work that their partners are doing. And so, There are many top politicians in this country. They will go out, you will never see their wives on any platform with them. Now, if you establish and formalize it, and you have a situation where Mr. A is elected president, his wife is not interested in playing the ceremonial role of a first lady or a second lady, and yet there is a formal structure, it means that the person is entitled to the salary. So the person can even go to court and make demands that pay me salary, even when the person is not going to perform any such functions. But with this informal arrangement, the office of the president decides that we are going to embark on project A, B, C, and D. And this particular one, let it be handled by the office of the first or second lady.
Sure.
And so let's make this budgetary allocations for that job to be done. So at that point, it is left for discretion. But where you seek to formalize it, it means that people will be entitled to it. And for me, one of the reasons why I want us to even avoid discussion of formalizing this salary or so for first and second ladies is that it will open the floodgates. Tomorrow, another president may come who will decide that sons or children of the president and the vice president also play some roles.
Very well. Thank you.
And so because of that, if we have been able to do it for the first and second ladies, let's migrate them also onto a salary structure. And
Very
before
well.
you realize, extended family members, in-laws, and even who all be added to that list, and it is completely unnecessary.
Thank you.
We are in a time of austerity, and this salary matter should be aborted.
I'll do that. Very well. Mami, let me come to you, but before that, let me quickly make reference to a portion of the Intiamwa Beidou Committee report, which talks about the fact that spouses of the president, that recommendation is payment of a salary equivalent to a cabinet minister MP as currently pertains. And it goes on to say that payment of a salary equivalent to 80% of salary of a minister of state MP if spouse served one full term as president, or 100% of salary of a minister of state MP if spouse served 2 or more full terms as president. And the figure allocated to cabinet minister MP for 2020 is 33,270 Ghana cedis. So this is coming from the Intiamwa Beidou report. Mami, let me have your thoughts on this.
Salary equivalent.
Yeah, but it's still
salary equivalent is not the same as salary. Please, let's stop this miseducation. Salary.
Let me move to Mami.
Equivalent.
Richard,
the equivalent of a
please
salary.
allow
Is not the same as a salary.
Mami to make her statement.
Let's get this clear. It's
Mami,
English
you have the floor.
Let's be very fair to ourselves.
I don't know. I think it's like a lot of banter, I think, is around whether it's semantics as to is it an allowance, is it a salary? Because obviously if you're going to define salary, then it has to do with you're paying someone for work done, right? And so it's the thing of even two questions come up to me for the average Ghanaian who's processing all of this. So the whole time, people have been taking money then, allowances or whatever you call them, and nobody knows how much has been spent. First question that comes up. The second question is now the idea of what is the basis that's going to determine how much to pay the first or first lady or second lady, or even when they're out of office. So it's very tricky, and I think what makes it difficult now is that things are really hard. So sometimes even conversations get very difficult when people actually now even like people are earning 500 cedis a month. They can't even survive. Like the cost of living is so high. So doing austerity measures, you have to also look at what are you introducing at the time? Because you're looking for people to be understanding. But then at the end of the day, it's also about compassion and empathy in the process. Because now things are really difficult. There's already, you already know that they're already borrowing heavily. And then, so it's a question of, okay, fine, you want to formalize an allowance, which, because there's already money being allocated, nobody knows how much it was anyway. Now, what is the basis? So the thing is about, if you're going to bring up these discussions, what is the criteria you're using to pay them? Because obviously, if you're going to pay somebody for wages, that is salary.
So that would require some formalization.
Yes, and so the big question is that then what are you formalizing the role? That means you're going to have to allocate tasks. And then have to, so all of these are big things that I feel like right now is that it's not necessarily, I think even beyond everything is, what is the priority right now? As at now in the country right now. And that's where really people are feeling like, because when things are really difficult, sometimes even the leadership, they take very hard you take the hard decisions for the public, right? You tell us that we're going to increase tax, you're putting out these tight measures for you, right? So if you're doing that in the process, then what are the austere measures you are placing also on people in leadership? They are not feeling anything. You put all the burden on the people. And the money is going to come from where, please? If I have to ask. It's the people's money. So you have to understand the sentiment that is coming, whether you think is grounded or not. People are just upset. They are tired.
Right.
So I really feel like it's a little unfair to start talking about monies like this in a time where things are so hard. People are working hard and not getting any money. So that is really where I think, Richard, maybe is like, for the party's sake, there's some level of compassion for what Ghanaians are really going through right now. Speaking about thousands of cedis, when people can't even buy food. You understand what I'm trying to say? And this is like your leadership. It's like your parents coming to tell you that, hey, life is hard at home, right? So they tell the kids, look, from now onwards, you're eating only gari and pepper or something. Then you see your parents coming home with takeaway. What are you communicating to the kids? That at the end of the day, they don't matter, right? But even it's different because kids are not the ones making the money. Fine, maybe it's even unfair. But the money is whose money? It's the people's money. It's Ghana's money. So it is not so much. I think that like even in the discussion of being upset or people are talking about semantics and allowance, what is the big thing now? Life is very, very hard. And the people want to know that there is compassion. So that's the way I wanted to put Richard, that it's not even about, forget that all the semantics with salaries and allowance. People don't even get, are not even any. People have lost their jobs. You see, so talking about money in this time like this, in a very entitled way, communicate something wrong, especially to people who are educated and have gone to school and are even working hard to even pay their workers and are not able to. And we are being told that we have to go for loans. We are trying to sell debt that our children will come and pay, our great-grandchildren will come and pay, and still be able to talk about things that are luxuries. Because obviously, in people's mind, the average Ghanaian who has a brain can see that the president or the first lady, the vice president, they're not struggling.
So, maybe you're raising an issue about the timing as well.
Yeah, it's very off.
Can I ask a question?
Quick one, and then we move to the MP loan, because the substantive topic here, is the NDC march.
Okay. So I get the sentimentality and the emotional aspect you bring to it. So currently, you have a mother and a father that bring home wache and kinky and pepper for you to eat, okay, because of the situation. But before they told you that, they used to go and eat at Kempinski. And they are telling you things are now hard. But they still go to Kempinski.
With your money, maybe it's even your money.
Hold on. Your analogy is what I'm coming on.
Okay.
So I'm saying that nothing has changed. The only thing is that now the Kempinski they are going, they are putting a cap to it. They are putting an amount to it, so that you, the children, will know that mommy and daddy cannot spend more than 100 cedis at Kempinski.
What if Kempinski is not realistic at this time?
How about scrap it totally?
No. That is my point. So if the idea is that let's scrap the whole office, let's scrap it. Because it's not appropriate, it's illogical, they have no use. Let's scrap the whole thing, because it's been happening since Nkrumah's time.
Obviously, there's
that is
a
my
lot to
point.
talk about, but
and at Nkrumah's time, it was pegged at the vice, what do you call it?
Richard, that's
deputy
why we
minister's
asked the question.
level.
How sustainable is that?
Yes, it's there. We are just pretending
Richard.
like ostriches in this country.
Richard.
It happened, and even in our chaplain's case, they determined that, in actual fact, when you have two spouses,
Great.
and our chaplain has such a situation,
Very
how
well.
do you sort it out? They said that it is to the
running
office,
out of
so
time
the
on
two
the-
of them
on
have
the-
to pay the money.
On the NDC money
This,
thing,
we
so
need to educate people.
That's fine, Richard.
And this thing
Richard,
never
your
says
point is made.
anything about salary.
Thank you.
It actually allocates the
Richard.
money to the same office
Richard,
of the
please,
president and the vice.
allow me to
But this
move
time,
on.
you would know how much
Richard, thank
that
you.
the president
Yes.
is allocating to the wife.
Abena, I think that Richard's...
Adams, you have 1 minute.
Just
quickly.
1 minute. Abena, Richard's difficulty is because, without any disrespect, he clearly does not know the difference between allowance and salary. Abena, from 2017...
It's because he understands, which is why he's saying.
No, I'm making a point.
Where he heard that it was salary, but I read
it is
something
there,
out to
and
him.
you read it out,
Exactly.
and I'm
So-
saying that.
salary
Are you aware?
equivalent.
Are you aware?
Salary
Are
equivalent
you
is
aware
not the
that
same as
even?
salary.
Are you
Richard,
aware?
please
Are you
continue.
aware?
Richard.
Because you see, Abena, from 2017, Rebecca Akufo-Addo and Samira Baumia have been receiving this allowances
the
to
amount?
work. But as part of this recommendation,
Do you know the
Richard,
amount?
please allow
the
him to make
committee
his
is actually
submissions.
recommending, okay, or has recommended that if you are formalizing it, give them a back pay from 2017, which means that they are even going to receive, or they will be in the bracket of that jeopardy of double salary, because if indeed they have received the allowance for the first 4 years, now this committee is even recommending that give them a back
From
pay
2017.
From 2017. So clearly, allowances are just
And that is
just a
why I needed
determination
to read
based on
Nana
discretion.
Tudazi's
No,
response.
you see,
Nana
what you are reading.
wrote and told
And-
this
Just a
country
minute.
that
And
in
I'm
actual
not-
fact,
and
he
they're not
was
helping-
put in
they're not
charge
helping
by
viewers
Mr.
and
He's-
Rollins.
Because listen,
he's
to
the one that is
the back pay,
interrupting. I
listen,
kept quiet for
Richard,
him.
was
Richard,
done by
you
Rollins.
have to move on. Anyways,
Nana
we have
Appiah
to
we're
move
moving
on.
on
Isn't
next
it
to
that
look
is
at the
interrupting and all
NDC
of
match, and I will start with you.
But that is the point
Yes.
I'm
No, that's
making.
fine.
He's
Richard.
talking about back pay. I'm saying
Thank
that
you.
NDC did it. Nana 2006.
Richard,
I went
thank you.
round and paid them myself.
Let's
That is not
proceed.
true.
Let's proceed to
Why?
look at the
That was
NDC
never
match.
formalized.